and just seeing like your guys' output in conversations. And I was like, I love people, one that challenge me. Like, if you can challenge me in a conversation, and when it can be a conversation, it can be on, intellectual things, it can be on physical things. Like, I wasn't going to tell you I was hurt, walking that, thing. Like, I like the challenge. I like to be, put in a position where I don't know the answer, which is very often, right? But like, I like when someone calls me out on that. And so I was kind of feeding off of your guys' energy on that walk. And I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. Like, I want to learn how to make this better, right? And I was not happy. Not like super sad or anything, but I knew there was something missing from my life. And, it wasn't something like, I'm not gonna say I wasn't happy at home, but there's something missing at home. There's something missing in my career. And what is it? It's probably me, right? Like, there's a part of me that's missing that will make up for those items that I think are quote unquote missing in those certain areas.
So you arrived at that. And I think we all saw the little light bulb pop, because even you started drinking like fake drinks with me too, right? Because I challenge you to find people that have partied in this industry harder than me. But at the same time, I have no desire to do it anymore. Like, DCAC next year will have healthy hours as well as happy hours. But, like, I don't criticize or blame anybody that goes hard in the paint still. I used to do that all the time and I loved it. But I'm also at a point now where I'm like, I'm addicted to trying to see how I could get 1% better every day, right? Yeah. Something happened to you. And I remember you were like, where were we when you said, hey, do I have any suggestions? You just started hammering me with questions. Yes. And I was like, man, I'm going to have a hard time keeping up. You seemed to run hard towards something that made you uncomfortable and made you hurt. Mm-hmm. And that says something a lot about a person, right? So, and again, I think that this whole industry is beautiful, but it all ties back to us as people, and we need to understand how we operate as people before we can go operate better in business.
Absolutely.
Right? So towing this back, what was it that kept you rolling in terms of always asking? And then how was it being received when we were trying to feed you things that seemed we couldn't feed you stuff fast enough, but it was a framework or a template, or what was it that?
So it was, I think, like, one, I wanted to challenge myself, right? So you started kind of giving me ideas. You're like, first, just start with 30-30. But you said, here's a couple of things. I will walk this, journey with you, but here's a couple of things. And I think the biggest thing that stuck with me is you're like, don't talk to anyone about it, and put yourself first. Can you put yourself first, during this thing? And I was like, holy shit, yeah, I can do 30-30. I can keep my mouth shut and not tell people, but can I put myself first when I'm, a mom and I travel for work all the time, So like, I come home from these trips and the last thing that my kids want me to say is, hey, I have to go work out or something, right? Now they're kind of seeing like, I'm a much nicer person at home, when I've had these, workouts and stuff like that. And, my daughter's gone on some of these walks with me. So, if they're wanting to join me, they can, but, this is something I have to do. And so I think when you said you have to put yourself first, that was the hardest thing for me. And my kids got it. They were super easy. Like, okay, like, you go do you, mom. So that was helpful. And then
it's actually beneficial to explain it to them what you're doing, so that they could be learning on this journey with you, right?
And so we've had these conversations. My son's 15, my daughter's 10. They're both old souls. So we have those conversations. I'm like, listen, I need to be healthy so I can be here for you guys. I'm doing this challenge with Kirk. They've watched the podcast, previously. Okay. So it's kind of been fun. I remember the first week that I kind of had completed this, right? Like, I had gone through like 2 books a day, like that very first week. Like, it was kind of insane. And I remember Nissa sent me a text. She's like, girl, whatever the hell you're on, or whatever you're putting in your coffee, I want some. Like, whatever you're doing, like, keep it up. And I was like, and I hadn't told her, like, what I was doing. And I was like, okay. Like,
but people are seeing it.
We're seeing the, the difference. And,
and that's,
like, okay.
And that's addicting, right?
It was addicting. Yeah.
Affirmation is great.
Absolutely. And so, like, I gave her a couple of the books, she was like, hey, what are you reading then? And I was like, here, read this one. And we talked about it. Right. And so, like, I think the one that we were talking about was No Ego, was, I think, the first one she and I talked about.
That's a gift. I just got, the Compass team gave me that one a few months ago. Fantastic
book. Right. And so, like, now we'll talk and we're like, well, that person is, just expressing emotional waste, and like I'd never heard of that, and there were parts of that book that I was like, but they don't
BMW,
understand.
bitching money one.
Yeah. And I was like, they don't understand. And so like Nis and I talked about it. I'm like, you know what? Like they may not understand certain, aspects of what we're going through, but this is a good counter, conversation of it, and so we need to be aware of when it's emotional waste and stuff like that. So, we talk about it a lot. I think it was the following week, you and I and Jesse and Rob and Anthony, we were in Virginia. And that was the next time. I stepped outside when we were having drinks, which I was not drinking at the time, but had my mocktail. Stepped outside to call home, and our JV partner came outside, and he's like, hey, time out. Like, what did you do? Like, you look different. Like, what did you do? And I was like, and like at that time, like we were like 10 days in maybe. I was like, there's no physical results he's going to see. And I was like, I am
different
happy,
energy.
Right? Like, and
different
he's like,
energy.
Really, it's just you're happy. And I'm like, I swear I've not had any work done. Like, look at the lines. Like, there's no work done here. And he's like, well, I'm really happy that you're happy. Like, he's like, but there is a difference to you. And he's like, and it was noticeable. He had no idea. Like, there have been times, I mean, I've known him forever, right? Where I'm on a routine of working out every morning or I'm not, right? Like, and so like, I'm not sure if he kind of realized that I was back into that, cycle or not, but yeah. So that was, I think, the second time that I was just like, okay, so now we've seen the output of Jen, professionally has improved. And then, there's just the happiness part, right? That, other people, are seeing as well.
Well, back up. What about at home with your kids? Did you feel like if your kids were calling in right now, would they be like, yeah, now they're going to ring and be like, she's a better mom now. But like, did you find that you were able to maybe have a better emotional range when you engage with them?
Absolutely. Okay. Like my kids, like I've kind of looked out, they're pretty easy kids. I do not, associate that with
you had to spank them how many times when they're younger to get them that?
One time. Both of them got one spanking per time.
Midwest used to be so much tougher.
Right? Like, but they have never, like, I used to tell them, like, here's a rule. You got to break a rule this summer. Like, it's just way too easy.
Don't just pay attention when I'm telling you. Yeah. But your kids saw it.
They did.